federal jury has convicted 6 suspected gang members in the murder of rapper FBG Duck. The rapper was shot outside a luxury clothing store in Chicago on East Oak Street in April of 2020.
Chicago, E-Day 600, who was just shot in Sunday, August 1st. A 32-year-old man was standing outside in the 7200 block.
The brother of local rapper Lil Durk is dead after shooting at a club in Harvey this weekend. A police officer also injured.
In the world of gang feuds, the death of a gang member is like lighting a fuse. What's even more serious is that payback is always lurking just around the corner. And when it goes off, the cycle of revenge only escalates. Since the O-Block gang have been linked to the murder case of FBG Duck, things just continued to get wilder. After 4 years, it looks like his other affiliates, since day one of his tragic passing, are still sliding for him. FBG Duck is not an ordinary gang member in Chicago. He was well renowned. And one thing Chicago gangs are known for is riding out on their enemies to defend their own. It's no shock that the streets started getting heated, with bodies dropping left and right. Now, if we roll back a bit, you'll remember Carlton Weekly, aka FBG Duck, a high-profile figure on the Chicago gang scene who was K-worded in April 2020 by his rivals.
Word is spreading on social media that the 26-year-old man pronounced dead is a well-known Chicago rapper. A crowd grew outside Northwestern Hospital where he was taken, but still no official confirmation on his identity.
His passing definitely caught everyone by surprise. However, fast forward 4 years and FBG Duck's crew are still standing on business, taking matters into their own hands. FBG Young, one of Duck's close allies, even went live swearing vengeance, promising to get back for his fallen friend. And not long after,
I mean, this how this go. This come with that shit though. Niggas they gonna disrespect me anyway. Yeah, I just want for the get back and get up.
The violence began. In less than a couple of months after Duck's murder, an op in the name of Delvon Welsh found himself caught up in deadly crossfire. On August 30th, 2020, the scene at Loom's Pancake House in Morgan Park turned tragic when rivals allegedly targeted him. Witnesses say a white SUV pulled up and unleashed a hail of bullets on Welsh while he was sitting under a tent, enjoying his meal. Struck multiple times, the 31-year-old was rushed to the hospital, but he didn't make it. His death later ruled a homicide by the medical examiner's office. In the aftermath, the police released surveillance images on September 2nd, identifying suspects, a group of 5 black men seen in distinctive outfits that left an eerie mark, teal and yellow hoodies, a white tank, and unmistakably face coverings. Their hit was bold, pulled off with handguns from a dark SUV. Authorities initially thought the incident stemmed from a dispute over dividing looted goods, but once FBG affiliates started mocking Welsh online, it became obvious. He was likely connected to their enemies, and in their eyes, he'd crossed a line. FBG members took to social media to joke about Welsh's death, but it didn't end there. Tensions escalated with a beef brewing between Lil Durk and FBG Duck's cousin, Ruga. Ruga decided to take things public, messaging Durk about lyrics from Still Runnin', a track Durk did with Lil Baby that many felt was aimed at Duck. Durk's bars start with, "You do it for what? You better not say that you do it for," then a gunshot sound instead of a name, pretty much making it clear Duck was the one on his mind. Ruga put their DM exchange on his IG, adding a few choice words aimed at Durk, and from there things only seemed to heat up even more. But Durk's brother D-Tongue wasn't exactly sitting back and watching as Ruga kept stirring the pot. He decided to jump in and throw a few words of his own, while Durk stayed out of it and ignored the drama. Soon enough, this kicked off a back and forth between D-Tongue and Ruga, building tension that seemed almost bound to erupt, and unfortunately, it didn't take too long for that to happen. Just a few months later, on the night of Saturday, June 5th, 2021, Dante Banks aka OTF D-Thong reportedly found himself in a heated altercation inside Club O. After things got intense, he stepped outside, but the people he'd clashed with allegedly followed him out, and what started as an argument turned deadly when shots rang out. D-Tang took a fatal headshot and passed away right there at the scene.
The brother of local rapper Lil Durk is dead after shooting at a club in Harvey this weekend. A police officer also injured.
Some might argue this was all unrelated to Duck, but in the Duck murder trial, a certain twist came to light that hinted at a deeper connection, possibly even an extra reason for D-Thang and Ruga's online feud. According to court documents, a number used by TZ to call in backup for Duck's hit allegedly belonged to D-Thang. It's said that D-Thang's baby mother was ready to testify that the number was, in fact, D-Thang's, sparking even more speculation that D-Thang's involvement, whether direct or not, might have made him a target as part of the so-called get back for Duck. The whole situation was spiraling fast, with each side suffering losses, but that cycle of retaliation and score settling was unstoppable, like a runaway train with no brakes, fueled purely by anger and revenge. And it didn't end with D-Thang either. Duck's longtime rival, E-Dogg 600, was next in line in what people believe to be another strike for Duck's death. Duck and E-Dogg's beef had been brewing for years, marked by diss tracks that left nothing to the imagination. E-Dogg's 2011 track F Da Otha Side called out Duck directly with lines like, "Lil Duck better duck for I dump and leave you slumped in a trunk, is you drunk, dissing me you must be dumb." Duck wasn't one to hold back, firing back with his own diss track featuring Billionaire Black titled E-Dogg Is You Serious, where he hit back with the brutal lines, "My ninjas told me don't show no sympathy for E-Dogg, I will chop his body up and throw it on the E-way." The tension between them boiled over and they were still throwing shade online just days before Duck was taken out, with E-Dogg even talking about grabbing his pole to blitz Duck, hinting that a confrontation could have been just around the corner. Eventually, Get Back did catch up to E-Dogg on July 31st, 2021, when he was allegedly caught lacking at the intersection of 72nd Street and South Bennett Avenue, bringing the cycle full circle once again.
Yo, y'all know what it is and y'all know what it ain't. This morning, I had to go ahead and show y'all exactly what E-Dogg 600 passed.
According to the reports, the ops didn't hold back at all. They sprayed E-Dogg with bullets, hitting him in the chest and stomach and leaving him clinging to life. He was rushed to the University of Chicago hospital, but despite all efforts, he sadly didn't pull through. Though Duck had already been laid to rest, it seemed his people weren't done sending his rivals in the same direction, keeping the deadly cycle going strong.
In Chicago, E-Dogg 600, who was just shot and killed, dead.
And in the latest act of retaliation for Duck, things took an even darker turn, one that shows just how brutal it's all become, with no boundaries left, no lines respected, not even women or kids spared. THFTP, an FBG rival, learned this the hard way in a tragic scene that hit different because of who was around him. In February 2024, security footage captured TB walking with his girl and two young kids near Madison and Long on the west side, just picking them up from school and holding what looked like a school project in his hands. But in a heartbeat, everything changed when two men ran up, guns blazing, unleashing a shower of bullets, taking him down right in front of his family. His girl and one of his kids managed to run off, but the other child froze, standing right there crying as the shooters continued firing without even a pause. When they finally finished, they took off in a white Nissan, leaving TB lying on the ground as his traumatized daughter ran for cover and his girl ran back to scoop her up. The footage is raw and tough to watch, a reminder of how far things have spiraled out of control. Afterwards, THFTP was rushed to the hospital, but the extent of his injuries was just too severe, and he didn't make it. An alleged eyewitness who was nearby, just grabbing food in a restaurant, shared their version of the events, describing how it all went down in seconds. But for those close to Duck, TP's fate seemed like part of the same story, since he had made a name for himself dissing Duck and his crew, especially with his bus stop diss, where he taunted about the Lil Mark hit at the bus stop. It's like the streets have been keeping score on every diss and every loss, and now it's just loss upon loss, adding up to a tragic tally with no end in sight. To really understand how things spiraled into this kind of unending violence, we've got to rewind back to where it all started. Because for FBG Duck, the streets weren't just a part of his life. They were practically woven into his story from the beginning. Duck grew up on the south side of Chicago, and by the time he was just 3, life already took a heavy hit. His dad was sentenced to over 20 years in prison, so Duck moved in with his grandma, getting used to a world where he saw violence and struggle up close. As a kid, he was known for fighting, often getting into it with his cousins. And in an interview with Vlad TV, he even described himself as a bad kid from early on, suggesting those tough surroundings left their mark.
Whatever the case may be, shit, I was bad as hell. I was known for being a bad kid, you feel me? You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I wasn't proud of being a bad kid.
Duck's older brother, FBG Brick, was from STL EBT, a faction tied to the Gangster Disciples, or GDs, which represented a mix of loyalty and hostility. STL stood for St. Lawrence, a street significant to their crew, while EBT translated to Everybody Kill, a name that made it clear they didn't back down from rivals. Duck, looking up to his brother, started repping the gang too, becoming a part of that street life at a young age. Around 2009, Duck grew close to another STL member, Tuka. In fact, Duck would later say in an interview that Tuka was like family to him, a bond that hit hard when Tuka was killed at just 15 years old.
Yeah, real close. Everyday friends. When you meet a motherfucker, you real close to him, then if y'all click, then y'all click, you feel me? And me and him clicked, like that was one of my real close friends, like every day, like spend the night at his house.
Tuka's death turned the gang scene into a war zone, igniting a violent feud between 600 O Block and STL EBT that's taken countless lives since. Not long after Tuka's murder, a Black Disciple member named O.D. Perry was killed by Kai, a girl from STL EBT who was also a close friend of Tuka's. Her actions marked one of the first retaliations by Duck's crew, a stark signal that they were willing to go to extremes for each other. After losing Tuka, Duck stepped into a leadership role, co-founding FBG, Flyboy Gang, with his friend Dewey. And from there, Duck became known for not only rapping but directly dissing his rivals in his tracks, making his message clear. Rumor has it, Duck didn't stop at music. He reportedly started sliding into enemy neighborhoods to personally seek revenge for Tuka, fueling a cycle that's only grown more brutal over time. Rumor had it that Duck might have had his own tally of targets, with whispers saying he'd shot 5 or more people, though nothing was ever confirmed. In the midst of balancing the intensity of street life with his rap hustle, Duck made waves as an FBG rapper, just like Lil Jojo, another GD rapper who was making serious noise back then. Jojo dropped a remix of Chief Keef's track Every Day, using the track to declare BDK and call out all Black disciples, putting it all out there as a message to show the ops that GDs were also a force to be reckoned with in both rap and the streets. Tragically, Jojo's bold approach had deadly consequences. In September 2012, he was killed after sharing his exact location with his rivals. The violence didn't stop there. The following year, Duck himself got caught up in the crossfire and was shot in the leg and ankle. During an interview with DJ Vlad, Duck shared how it happened. He was just stepping out of a liquor store when a stranger came up from behind and opened fire. Duck's recovery was quick, but not long after, he found himself in yet another brush with danger when his ex-girlfriend stabbed him in the stomach during a heated argument that escalated when Duck allegedly slapped her. In a moment of rage, she grabbed a knife and the blade cut deep into Duck's bowels, a wound that could have been fatal. Duck later told Vlad that he almost retaliated in the moment, but his brother held back, refusing to hand him a gun. Then, in 2017, Duck faced yet another devastating loss when his brother, FBG Brick, and his cousin Kobe Mack were both killed on the same day. Duck, who was already dealing with the dangers around him, rushed to the scene, only to break down as he saw them both lying there lifeless. A loss that cut deep, driving Duck even harder to pour his anger and grief into diss tracks aimed at his rivals. No one was arrested for their murders, but rumors flew fast, with many saying that C-Murder from O Block might have been involved, keeping the tension and suspicion high on all sides. Duck kept going with his music, and his persistence paid off big time when one of his tracks exploded, hitting nearly 70 million views on YouTube and becoming a major hit with his fans. But Duck's reputation wasn't just about his catchy beats. He was known for his relentless disses aimed squarely at his ops in almost every track. Then in 2019, he surprised everyone by dropping a track called Chicago Legends, where he actually took a moment to honor fallen people from his city, including guys like Lil Jojo and Lil Mark, paying respect to his late friends in a rare shift from his usual style. But in true Duck fashion, he didn't stop there. He also mentioned losses on the other side, calling out people like Lil Durk's cousin Nusky, who was killed in 2014, as well as Chief Keef's cousin Fredo Santana and La Capone from 600. This all fueled the ongoing rivalry, and shortly after, Mimo 600 and King Von responded with their track Exposing Me, where Von rapped about how he was tired of smoking Tuka and Lil Mark, along with lines dissing others like Scrap, while Mimo jumped in, taking shots at Tuka, Zico, and Fats, saying they'd put in work against their enemies. By now, Duck was already high on O-Block's list, and his ongoing jabs at their deceased only made that target on his back even bigger. But Duck didn't let up. In July 2020, he dropped Dead Bitch, a track that went all in on dissing O-Block and their allies, raising tensions even higher. But little did Duck know that he would pay the ultimate price just a month later.
Word is spreading on social media that the 26-year-old man pronounced dead is a well-known Chicago rapper. A crowd grew outside Northwestern Hospital where he was taken, but still no official confirmation on his identity.
On August 4th, 2020, in a shocking and tragic turn, Duck was gunned down in broad daylight in Chicago's Gold Coast, one of the city's most affluent and secure neighborhoods, showing just how deep these grudges went as a bounty had reportedly been placed on his head. Now, 4 years since the heartbreaking loss of Duck, it seems authorities are finally piecing together the puzzle of who really played a part. But what's sparking even more buzz right now is the massive step taken by Duck's mother as she's filed a lawsuit against Lil Durk and others, claiming they're tied to her son's death back in 2020. And this isn't just a case targeting a few individuals. This wrongful death lawsuit names quite a list, from Derek Lil Durk Banks and Davon King Von Bennett's estate, to big-name record labels, the city of Chicago itself, Dolce & Gabbana, 2 private security firms, and 6 O-Block members connected to the Black Disciples who were convicted for Duck's murder earlier this year.
FBG Duck, also known as Carlton Weekly, was killed August of 2020 outside Dolce & Gabbana on the Gold Coast. His mother is now suing rapper Lil Durk, the estate of late rapper King Von, record labels, and several other music.
Duck's murder was rooted in a long-standing, bitter rivalry between O-Block and Duck's Tookaville crew from the Gangster Disciples. And this feud played out in some pretty intense and violent rap tracks, with both Duck and Von trading harsh disses in their songs. Even though Von had already been fatally shot in Atlanta well before the 3-month O-Block trial kicked off last November, he was still recognized as one of the key players in this gang conflict, and was accused of putting a hit on Duck, which just shows how deep and deadly this beef really ran, affecting not just their lives but also the whole rap scene around them, turning music into a battleground where their animosities could be aired out and escalate into real-world consequences that led to tragic outcomes like Duck's. At a public announcement in The Loop, Duck's mother, Lashina Weekly, and his girlfriend came forward with a strong message for those high-profile rappers and the corporations that profit from them, saying that this fame and reach, which helped fuel these deadly moves, was only possible because of the extensive financial support and promotion these artists received. Attorney Roosevelt Allen III really didn't hold back when he made his bold statement, claiming that Lil Durk, OTF, King Von, and O-Block, what he's calling a full-blown criminal organization, would have never reached the level of fame they did or felt bold enough to kill a rival without the promotion and financial backing of major record labels.
They want authenticity, which has bred these type of individuals getting in the music business, carrying out their activities, and the record label companies are fueling it, financing it, developing brands for it.
And just when you thought Durk's legal mess couldn't get any worse, here's the twist. He's already knee-deep in a separate murder-for-hire case over the 2022 death of Quando Rondo's cousin, with rumors swirling that he might be staring down either life behind bars or, even worse, the death sentence if things go south. Now, with FBG Duck's case stacked on top, it's clear that Durk is walking into what might be one of the most intense legal showdowns of his life. Thank you for watching.